Hi, everyone. I know we're kicking off. I know we have a global audience here today, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. Super thrilled to have everybody here for HR Heroes Assemble, navigating 2024 with tech, teams, and data, co-hosted with our partners at Deal. I'm Luck Dukchitra, VP of People and Culture at Leapsome. Been here for about a couple of months, so learning the ropes, but in my spare time, I also have a 4-year-old and an almost 2-year-old that I'm trying to manage and integrate life with. So super thrilled to be here to talk about a very important and timely topic with our wonderful HR heroes. We have Janelle Doherty, Head of People and Culture at Notion Health, Victor Tomas, Learning and Development Specialist at SwapFeats, and Michael Latzik, Country Manager at Germany for Deal. And we'd love to give a couple of minutes to each of them to introduce themselves a little bit deeper. Janelle, let's start with you.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So glad to be here with you. My name is Janelle. As she mentioned, I'm the head of people and culture with Notion Health. We are a remote first organization in the healthcare receivables space, have gone through rapid growth in the last 2.5 years. We've tripled our headcount. So like a lot of you, right, we have all the same struggles or similar struggles around what does HR, what does people look like for us in the future. So I'm very excited to dive into these topics today with the rest of the panel. So thank you.
Victor, let's go over to you.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Victor. I'm the learning development specialist here at SwapFits. I've been in the position already for 1.5 years. And SwapFits, it's a Dutch company that has operations in 7 other countries here in Europe. And we are a bike subscription, so we make sure that our members always have a functional and well-equipped bike for whatever they want. And yeah, happy to share our findings with you as well.
Great. And Michael, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Luck, and thanks for the introduction. So as a European, I would say good evening to the audience, but understand that we really have a global audience, so covering all time zones, which is basically what we're doing at Deal as well. So we're also one of the really fast-growing businesses in the world, founded maybe 4.5 years ago. By now, almost 3,000 people working for us around the globe from 110 countries. So we are a fully remote company, which is completely spread across the globe. And from that perspective, it's super important for us to utilize HR technology to stay connected, build relationships within the team, learn about their feelings, their emotions, their sentiments. I'm really looking forward to the next 45 minutes to discuss these topics with you.
Amazing. Thank you, all of you, for joining. Super excited to dive right in. Just to set the stage a bit. So I know we're at year end for HR, and we really are, thinking about 2024. How do we empower managers? How do we empower our own teams and make use of technology? And then how do we, integrate that with how we, engage our employees, retain employees, and also make sure that they have a great experience. So we don't have a crystal ball, but, what does the HR strategy look like for the future? Obviously, we navigate a lot of circumstances around the world as well. And we'd really love to dive into how can we help our teams and organizations be really successful, and how we do this. There are many different ways, and so excited to have you all here. And also for those of you in the chat, I know people are from all over. Feel free to say hello and let us know where you're coming from. And also put your questions into the chat. We're going to try as best we can to go through each of the questions at the Q&A at the end of the session. But if we miss any of them, we'll definitely try to email you with those at the end. And everyone who's attending today will also get a copy of a recording here. So if you missed anything, don't worry. We're going to have it recorded and sent over to you. So really want to dive into the technologies to use and maybe touch upon what everyone's talking about, AI, a little bit, and how do we enable our teams to do this? And then, most importantly, how do we empower our managers to better understand and align all of this for promotions, career growth, things that our employees really care about. So just to dive right in, and maybe Janelle, I'll kick off with you, and then we'll kind of go around the panel. So with all the technologies and everything out there, I guess, how do we safeguard and also optimize, HR capacity through this technological advancement and, really help make data-driven decision-making? And then without going too into the weeds of it, like how do you use AI and how does that play a role for you and your team?
Absolutely. For my team, technology has been a game changer for, again, the speed of what we're doing. We are in 39 states across the United States. And so being able to have that reach, and of course, being a remote first company. So we lean very heavy on technology in terms of the way that we communicate with our staff and then the way that we streamline our HR operations. So having tools like LeapSum that assist us with our performance management and sort of our development for our managers. But we also utilize Microsoft Teams. That's our main communication tool. And through Teams, we have been able to automate, well, not through Teams, through Microsoft Power Automate, which we can access through Teams. We've been able to optimize and automate a lot of the functions that were taking up a lot of our time, right? 25 emails back and forth, we've been able to turn into one streamlined workflow that integrates all the different departments that we have to interact with when we think about onboarding, offboarding, training, making the offers, making hires, making decisions about, job postings that we're going to have. We've literally taken a look at the entire process and seen where can we save ourselves time, where can we increase efficiencies across the business, and then how can we communicate better with all the departments that are part of our processes. Because one thing about HR, as we know, is that we're so intertwined with everybody else, and our success depends, again, on our ability, but it also depends on the ability of us to integrate really well with the rest of the business. And being able to take a lot of that hassle off of my team, off of our IS team, our training team, our hiring managers has really made a big difference in the way that we're able to deliver and give back to the business. As it relates to AI, we have not, from an HR standpoint, we use it very sparingly at this point. We're still kind of feeling it out. We do have a task force across our business that is really identifying opportunities for us to use generative AI in the way that we deliver our services to our clients. From an HR standpoint, we really use just Chat GPT for those simple, mundane, maybe employee communications that we need to get out, things that are really simple that I don't need to have my team spending their time writing this email on. Hey, let's focus on more value add activities and let's have Chat GPT put together this open enrollment email or, anything else that we need to get out that's timely, that's important, but also is not full of confidential information that we have to worry about as it relates to AI, because I think there's still a lot of questions around, right? Talk about safeguarding our teams. How do we safeguard our information, our content, and how that is getting out into the world? So right now, that is where we are. And obviously, it's continuing to evolve as we evolve and we get to learn more.
Amazing. Victor, do you have any tools of the trade from your perspective?
Yeah, I think from our side, from SwapFits, we definitely share many similarities with what Janelle just mentioned. But I think at this moment we're really focusing on making sure that our data that we are producing, like good quality data, exactly, it's not an easy task for our team. And when I mean our team, I mean the whole people and culture, to really make sure that we have the right data in the right place in like across like 7 countries here in Europe. So we have the different languages, we have different processes that we need to follow. So I think this is like one main point, and then after that, we are really like using the momentum as well to be able to again generate this data analysis and then return to the business with certain action points, and then from the learning perspective. So then we have points that we want to develop it, like that we can inform the business that it would be like a pain point in the future, so we can make sure to develop that in the near future. From the performance as well side, we have, and we use Lipsum for that as well, being able to understand, okay, what are the competences being mainly used, where as well the competencies that we still need to work. So I think for our scope, these are like the main ways, and as well like the main challenges. AI wise, again, like we share many similarities with what Janelle just mentioned. I do believe that we have been using, and my team have been using ChatGPT for this small tasks as well. We don't have any platform that has a major function using AI at the moment from the HR perspective. But definitely, ChatGPT has the already the power and functions to save some time in the small tasks, and be able to as well play a very interesting point, very interesting support in creative processes as well. So myself and my colleagues delivering trainings and creating events. I think AI really can support in a very simple way the creative side of these tasks. And like I mentioned as well, I think we HR team and we are starting to talk about this at SwapFits. We do understand that AI comes with the challenge of the bias. So we as a people and culture team, we do see the value of keeping an eye on how can we tackle this bias in order to don't to use the tool at its max value.
Amazing. Yep, definitely. I think you and Janelle both touched on the safety and safeguarding around AI and tools like that. And Michael, what about from your perspective?
Oh, let's see whether I can still add something to the conversation, because I mostly align with what Victor and Janelle said. But yeah, to keep it short, so from a technology perspective, as a fully remote company, we need tools in place to communicate, and in particular to support our performance management. We definitely consider ourselves to be performance culture and need to foster that. And that also is based on continuous fair and balanced feedback. So we need to have tools in place for that as well. That's an important aspect. When we look into daily use of AI, it's honestly the mundane tasks in sales, in business development, crafting the email, crafting the little content snippet that has to go out quickly, and replicating things to a certain extent, because that's also quite safe. You don't really expose any internal knowledge. You don't really face a risk by using technology here. What we do on a larger scale is that we implemented an internal chatbot, AI powered, that actually crawls our entire knowledge base and makes that knowledge available to all our sales reps, customer success representatives, and so forth, because we cover roughly 180 countries with our compliance services, and nobody in the world can keep this all top of their mind. And we wanted to make research for that information as easy and simple as possible and as quick as possible. And for that purpose, we developed our own internal knowledge management tool, which is completely separated from the wider world. So it really only taps into our knowledge base. And again, we have the aspect of safeguarding here. So that's quite important. The other use case that is currently explored in our organization is based on the fact that we, until mid of this year, had already like 200,000 applications for the various open roles in the organization. So on average 4,000 applications per sales role. That's something that no talent acquisition specialist can monitor and screen with efficiency anymore. So we definitely explore AI technology here to support us, but are very well aware of the potential bias risk. So we tap lightly and then do it very cautiously. But we know that in order to really be fair to our applicants, to give them a fair chance, we need technology for that purpose. Otherwise, we'll never be able to process those numbers. We can't blow up our TA team to that extent that they could do this manually. That's simply impossible.
Thank you, Michael. Those are really great examples. Just a follow-up question on that, since you said Deal has kind of the AI internal technology they've created, how were you and your team able to kind of implement that? Just for tips for folks in the teams, that are tuning in, how did you partner internally to make that something available for people at Deal?
So from my perspective, I was involved at a late stage, and I'm still involved. So the base technology was created by our internal teams. But what we're doing, and it's honestly, it's one of the most important projects for our CEO. What we're doing is, for each and every answer that the chatbot delivers, we provide feedback. Once on one side in the scoring system, so 1 to 5 stars, was it useful, was it completely useless, and also textual feedback that later on gets analyzed in order to really improve the answers, find out whether there are any gaps in the information that's shared. And that's the main, let's say, aspect that I'm facing in working with Alicia, we call her internally. Yeah? But from a development perspective, I have to admit, I don't know. So I will have to ask someone else in the org to share that knowledge with you.
No, that's great, though. I love that you shared that there's a rating system and things like that, which can combat that. I feel like it's a really interesting age of creativity. And then Janelle and Victor, I guess, we're obviously using these tools. Janelle, you talked about optimizing. Victor, you talked about data. Are there other tools or technologies that you and your team are using so that you yourselves can actually, be more productive as well? And do you have any tips to share for our audiences here about how you're optimizing your use of your tech stack?
Yeah, sure. I guess I can expound a little bit more in terms of what we're doing with the Power Automate functionality of Microsoft. In the past, I've worked for, multinational organizations, and everything just kind of tied together. When you're in a more of a building organization, right, you have to kind of utilize the resources you have at your fingertips. I can't go out and spend 80,000 on this new shiny technology. And so in terms of optimizing my team, like I mentioned, we have automated our onboarding system. So I'll take you back when we first started. It was an email back and forth like, hey, look, we'd like to hire Michael and we want to pay him this much. And then I'll ask a question. And it was this constant, back and forth, right, of emails. And so we have switched to things like, right, DocuSigns, where everything is automatic, goes out to the candidate. We have an approval process through Microsoft Automate as well that, comes through the corporate hiring channels for approval. So it comes to the VP, it goes to finance, it comes to HR. So everybody's fully aware. And I didn't have to clog my inbox up with 25 emails, right? So when we talk about optimization, that's definitely taking a big lift. Once that individual is hired, then we have a separate automation that lets, IS know somebody's coming. You got to create a laptop. Training knows somebody's coming. We have to make sure we have trainers for that week. And it just keeps following. So as people are moving through the process, getting onboarded with our payroll system and all that, everything is tracked so that we all know where everybody's in the process. And I don't have to call and be like, hey, did Michael do this? Did Victor do that? There's one centralized place that everybody that's involved in the process can take a look and see where that new hire is along the process so that everybody can stay on top of it. So in terms of saving my team a lot of time, effort, and energy, that's really been a game changer for us. So much so that we're thinking, we're thinking about every process and what else can we automate. I do feel there is the opportunity for too much automation, right? So we also have to make sure we're not doing it too much because we do still need to have hands and eyes constantly on certain pieces of the process. But we are definitely using it to our advantage in those opportunities and areas that make sense and that really allow us the time to do other things. We also are really big on outsourcing those things that we can't manage internally. So for instance, leave management was something that was taking up a lot of our time, and it realized, okay, it's very important, it's very integral. We're in 39 states. I need to know every state's leave policy along with the federal. Does it make sense for us to spend our time always having to research every time somebody from a different state comes? So that's something that this year we outsourced to a vendor that we were already receiving services for another one of our internal benefits. And from a cost, time, and capability perspective, and we talk about adding value back to our team, that has been a huge life changer. So I'm constantly challenging my team to look at what we're doing. Why are we doing it? Do we need to do it this way? Is there a better way for us to do it? And if there is a better way, what is that way? Do we have access to the resource? If we don't, how do we find access? How much it would cost us? And so on and so forth. So it's a constant challenge. I think they get annoyed at me sometimes, right? But it's like I have to teach them. I'm just trying to help make it easier for you because yes, we have a very heavy lift. We do have things on our plate for 2024 that we need to get accomplished, but we can't have all these mundane tasks keeping us back from being able to move the organization forward. And the organization can almost only go as fast as my team can go, right? We can only hire as fast as my team can hire. We can only grow as fast as my team can deliver, right? We can only offer as great benefits as my team has time to research, identify, and kind of collaborate on. So for every process that we put in, we try and quantify, okay, now we've taken this process away. Where are we going to dedicate our time? And it has to be an activity that's going to move the organization forward. And they have to prove that that's what's going to happen if we do this one thing. So, hey, we're going to take leave away. Tell me where the value add is going to be, not for HR, but for the business, right? Where is that value add going to be? And really push them to really think about the things that we're doing and why we're doing it. And I mentioned to the team we were talking earlier that, we had our kind of pre-end of year wrap up, and to get them ready, I said to them, kind of tongue in cheek, but I'm really serious. I said, hey, for 2024, I need us to only talk in dashboards, right? I need us to only talk about data. I don't want the emotion. I don't want what we feel. I wanted you to tell me what is the data telling us, and then how is that going to drive our decision making. And again, it's not about how I feel. It's not about how you feel or how frustrated you are when hiring managers aren't listening, or new hires aren't completing their tasks and keeping us back. The emotion is gone. Let's talk about what the data is telling us, and then what is our action item that we're going to put back out to business.
Amazing. Some great pro tips there for sure. Love the dashboards and really optimizing the team and bringing everyone along on that. Victor, anything else to add in terms of like what other technologies and things that you're using?
Yeah, I think I was thinking here while I was listening to Janelle. I think in order to don't repeat anything from the same points that she already mentioned, I would just focus on the learning as well. So it's very important, for example, that our LMS is like able to automatize some of the processes that we need to cover. So like mainly what, in my opinion, what is the most important is like the feedback. So we are like looking for, we have actually in place already a tool that can do this for us. It's again, it's like a simple thing, but that's definitely can save a lot of time. And then we have like good data in our hands to understand, okay, how can we pilot, how can we pivot, and be able to understand what other skills and what other elements we can bring to the business to support it. I think that's it. Nothing else that I can really think about.
Great answer. And you bring up a really good topic on feedback. So let me jump to another topic that I know is top of mind. So we know that bad manager-employee relationships are among the top reasons why people will leave the company. 3 out of 4 workers, want more feedback and recognition from their managers, and probably a third of employees don't feel comfortable coming to HR, people and culture teams. And so, what can we do, to enable managers to better understand and align their teams, and to kind of give and solicit this feedback in a thoughtful manner? Michael, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, so from personal experience, I can only confirm. I think it's the number one reason that employees leave a business. It's bad management, because you're exposed to this on a daily basis. At least if your manager tries. If it doesn't even try, then it might be a different situation. But it's definitely the strongest driver to leave an organization. And if you go deep on exit interviews, you'll always find out. So strengthening those relationships and enabling the managers to actually do their job properly and understand the data, but also to a certain extent the sentiments of the org is super important. And what I learned over the years, and what I also see happening in Deal, is we don't really look into, let's say, domain expertise in a certain sense to qualify as a manager, but really leadership capabilities. And to assess those is actually quite difficult, but absolutely worth the time and effort, because that makes a difference. You can be the best specialist in a certain topic, like, I don't know, we sell global payroll solutions. You might be the best consultant in global payroll solutions, but that doesn't enable you to any extent to lead a team, develop people, and understand their needs. So there needs to be more, and this comes from partially formal training, from coaching, from shadowing, but also from shaping the entire life cycle experience of an employee. So I made it a habit for myself to actually be part of the very early interviews with new team members, accompany them through the onboarding process, learn about their questions, their concerns, but also share positive moments with them, and create really a relationship from the onset on that then spans through the entire career that they have within my team, within my org. And try not to ever be a micromanager, which is another thing that in a full remote organization sometimes can be difficult, because you need to track a lot of things in order to understand where's the performance, where's the mood, how can you help people. But still, to a certain extent, you also need to let loose and let people do their job, and trust them that they come back to you with questions when they need support. You just need to instill that trust in them. I think that's one of the most important things. Hope that answers your question to a certain extent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Trust, all of the things, learning, really, really great points. Victor, I'll hop over to you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking here because we are more or less like in the other side of the spectrum. So we are not like a remote company. So we are a service company. So we do have people in the product line, product facing line and customer facing line. And this definitely brings the challenges of making sure that, okay, first of all, we are hearing everyone. We are collecting, again, information from everyone. We can be as well everywhere as a HR, and then, so of course, like with the goal to support the managers. So I think in this sense, I can really highlight a couple of points. So we have our engagement survey, we have our performance reviews, our P&D cycle, and these are, at least here at SwapFits, these are like extremely important. And it's extremely important to have a good tool for that, in order to clearly provide not only the structure needed for the managers to be able to reach out to employees, but as well the right way of documenting, the right way of addressing any potential points. So I think from this perspective, these are like definitely very important ways of enabling our managers to being able to be there, to being able to be well equipped to run these conversations, to be to run the assessment as well. I think I would definitely highlight these two main points. Yeah, I think that's it for now.
That's great. So I'm hearing, Michael's emphasizing the trust and the learning. Victor, I'm hearing you with some of the process and tools to support managers with the feedback and understanding. Janelle would love to hear, how you approach this topic and what you and your team are doing.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of what the gentlemen have shared already in terms of the way that we do it. So when we talk about the trust piece, we do have, for our new hires, the stay interviews that are actually in person. So we do 30, 60, 90, and 1 year check-ins that are live sessions. And for us, we find that helps to build the trust with HR, because those meetings are held with myself. And then the 1 year meeting, our CEO joins the conversation. So again, if you're thinking somebody that's 1 year in gets to sit and have a private conversation with the CEO of the organization, it really does set the bar pretty high. And we're very candid about what they can and cannot share. And we kind of set the tone, again, from that first 30 days in. You're able to talk about anything or share anything that you feel good, bad, or indifferent. And I tell them all the time, like, you're not going to hurt my feelings, right? I am not Notion Health, right? So you're not going to hurt my feelings if something went wrong, or things aren't going the way that you want to, but that's the only way that we're going to be able to help and make changes. And we try our best to solve the problems that we can solve between those calls. So by that 90 day, hey, if I've already solved 1 or 2 problems for them, right, then that starts off that trust level. We don't share that information with anybody in the organization. So it's not like I'm going to call your manager and say, you will not believe what Victor said happened to him his first week, right? We just use that to change processes, to update processes, to make adjustments. And so we make a lot of changes behind the fact, so that the next class of new hires won't have the challenges that the class before them may have had. So we really start that trust building early on. And I think that helps us the longer the employee stays with us, because then they're not afraid to come talk to us. And then we try and provide an open opportunities for them to communicate with their managers. So then back to what Victor touched on, yes, we do surveys. We have had some action plans that have come out of the surveys. I do realize that we probably did not do a really good job in terms of communicating to staff about the changes that we made. We just kind of made them. And so we're going to be very more intentional of saying, hey, this new change you saw, this came out of X specifically or Y specifically, to continue to encourage that feedback. But I try my best to have the employees solve the problems for us, right? So action plan comes up. I get involved in terms of, hey, here's the data. Here's what your team members said. You guys together collaborate and come back to me with what you think the solution is or should be. And then we implement it. So that team of individuals knows what gets implemented. And of course, they then become the ambassadors to kind of share with everybody else. And it could be things as simple as, individuals in our survey complained that our benefits were too high. And then we realized that we have been paying, we've in some instances doubled our contribution as a company to certain tiers. but the employees didn't know that. So all they were seeing was one side, it's getting more. And this action committee came up with this idea. And I was like, great question. Let me look at the data. I pulled the data and I was like, hey, from this year to this year, this is the increases. From this year to that year, that was the increase. And it was a surprise even to me. Like, I knew it, but I don't think I looked at it in that, through that lens in terms of how much we were giving back. I just knew that I was fighting as hard as I could to make it easier for them. But I didn't even take the time to realize how much fight, right, that my team did put into it, and then be able to communicate that. So what happens? The next all staff meeting, hey, just so you know, in 2021, this was our percentages that we gave to our benefits. 2022, these are where the percentages are. 2023, these are where the percentages are landing. And even though for some there were increases, I think there were a lot better understanding of how we got to that point, and that we're not leaving them out there on an island alone. We are feeling the pain along with them. And now when we have our surveys, there's a lot less, backlash to say about benefits, because now people understand it more. But we would have not gotten to that point had we not utilized the survey, had we not done the action plan, and had we not had the employees be the ones to come up with what the solution should or is going to be. As it relates to our performance eval, we have taken a very slow approach to our implementation of LeapSum. It's been very intentional, and it's really helped us and helped managers to be able to deliver a lot better performance evals than they probably would have in the past, just because of the way that we rolled it out. And so sharing that, our first year, we kind of said, hey, this is our evaluation. Let's just run through it and let's give feedback. Year 2, we made it very standard, and this is kind of how it works. And year 3 now is the same, the exact same eval and the exact same questions as year 2. So now managers can see, oh, now I can see where this person progressed from A to B, or where this person regressed from B back to A, without having to memorize everything. What did they do in January? What did they do here? Did I forget this? Because everything is tracked in the system. And it's just a way for us to show them, hey, we know that it's a heavy lift for you to do it, but we are providing you with resources and tools that are making it a lot easier and a lot less stressful. And so that takes away this whole view of, oh my God, it's performance eval time again. Here we go. Here's HR with another process. And so we utilize it where, hey, it's not anniversary based. We all do our evals at the exact same time. And it's like ripping the Band-Aid off. We don't stretch it out throughout the year. It's like, hey, here are these 2 months. And only for these 2 months of all the 12 you have for the year is when you're going to do performance evals. And guess what? You don't have to think about it again until next year. But we want you to utilize the meeting modules, utilize the goal modules, use that to drive conversations throughout the year, so that when it's eval time, right, you're not starting from scratch and being like, oh my God, what happened? You already have those notes that's tracking with you throughout the year. And so that's one of the great reasons why we love using a platform like LeapSum. It took us from using PDFs, which is where we started, right, into a more streamlined, efficient, effective process that makes it easier for the manager. So since we've done that, I think every time we've introduced a new technology, they've been a lot more open and adept to kind of embracing it, because right, we didn't just throw it at them and say, do all the things. We were like, do one thing this year, we'll do 2 things next year. And for 2024, then we're going to do the full 360, right? So it's been kind of a 3.5-year process for us to fully utilize everything that we have. But again, it's really just for us to make it easier for the managers and help them and their teams adapt it a lot better than if we had just thrown the book at them.
That's amazing. Super comprehensive. Everything you said resonated to me. Took some notes on various things, and all of you touched on, lots of different factors. And another part of it is, and I know a lot of teams are facing this, how do you all differentiate between kind of first-time manager and then kind of a more experienced manager, and enabling, both of those, categories of manager? Victor, let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, from the learning perspective, basically we do have training specifically for these 2 different levels of seniority. Yeah, like basically first time managers, we really want to make sure, and again, keep it in mind that SwapFits, it's a service company, so many people, for example, in retail, maybe will be able to relate to what I'm saying. we do have people that their own their biggest responsibility is either to deliver our service to our members or to fix our bikes. And that's why we do focus on the first time managers to be able to understand, okay, what is the culture of the company, what is the main platforms that we have, what is the main responsibilities, what are the main processes that we have in place as well, mostly related to people, because we do want to make sure that all of them it doesn't matter if they're working here in the HQ or in the operations as well, they're able to perform the people tasks related to the topic. For the managers already, we are really trying to understand, okay, what are the development points that they're seeking, what are the ambitions of that they have, and how can we support this with them. And then we can understand, okay, what are the offerings that we have in place that we can use in order to develop themselves, that they can use in order to develop themselves, or the other stuff that maybe we can look in the market and see if we can have that in the company. These are the two main differences that we have. Always keeping in mind that being a service company, we do want them to understand, and being an international company as well, we do want them to understand that this is our culture. So like transferring knowledge on culture, transferring knowledge of what has been done before, and what are the standards that they have at the moment.
Great. And Janelle, I feel like you have some ideas on this first time manager versus experienced manager track as well. What are you and your team doing there?
So for us, it's probably one of the areas where we are not as mature as probably we would like to be, because there's, again, so many other things going on with us. But we definitely take the track where our HR director delivers specialized training to each various group on those areas where they are struggling. So for 2024, we're going to work to make it a lot more formal in terms of, we just hired an L&D director that's going to kind of help us build that out, and probably be a lot more streamlined to kind of what Victor talked about, right? Like, here is level 1 if you are this manager, but here's level 2 of a similar, a like-minded training if you are this second level of manager. So that's something that we are in the process of building out, and it's our goal for 2024 to have that really nicely tied up for our organization.
Great. Amazing. I'm sure there's a lot of teams out there also like us designing it as well. So totally makes sense. And Michael, how about yourself? What's your perspective on first-time managers and experienced managers?
Thanks for asking. So first-time managers in our organization are typically internal promotions. So we tend not to hire people from the market to already take on a leadership role, because that would be quite a bit of change, and we don't want to set up people to fail, but rather retain them long in the organization. So the cultural element that Victor mentioned is already there, because these people have at least 1 year tenure in the organization, know how to navigate the organization, know how we tick as a culture. And from that perspective, I think we're on the safe side. So we focus very much on trainings in terms of how do you run a well-structured one-on-one meeting, how do you have a performance, how do you run a performance conversation, how can you actually structure a candid conversation if something doesn't go really well in the employee relationship. And this is the kind of knowledge that we want to convey to our first-time managers. Then when it comes to the more senior managers, which very often then already manage other managers, then it's exactly that aspect that we try to train. How do you manage a more complex hierarchy that in our case sometimes spans 15 or even more countries from an organization perspective, because our people sit basically everywhere.
Great. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great we're talking about it and hearing these and building these practices. And then it kind of, to switch in a similar vein, obviously managers have become kind of like HR partners in a way, and we have to partner with them in helping, their teams grow and develop. How can HR and managers really plan for promotions and career growth for teams in 2024? We know this is a hot topic among employees, and especially pushed in different generation. Everyone wants growth and visibility of that growth. What are some tips and practices that you can all share about, what we can all do to make this a more engaging and better practice for our employees? Janelle, let's go back to you.
Sure. So for us, and it's kind of like Michael, right? A lot of our managers are internal promotions. So we only promote internally when it comes to most of our management positions outside of, very technical opportunities. But the majority of our staff come from that. And so in terms of the way that, number one, we're supporting them is by really, we've segmented. When I first started, we had one job description that just kind of covered everybody. We've gone in and we've kind of segmented it and made different levels, right? Hey, here's a level one, a level two, level three. So again, the same job, but we realized that there was a lot more depth to it than probably what we were giving credence for in the beginning. And by changing them out, we really, allowed the managers to think about, right, what are those differences for us to be able to, again, provide those career opportunities. Because then when you first started with us, you were kind of, at that point, we called it like a claims rep. You were just a claims rep forever. And then you may have become a senior claims rep, but it really didn't mean anything. It just meant that we were going to be paying you a little bit more than we were before. And so really having managers think through, what does that number one ideal employee look like, right? What are those competencies that individual needs to bring to the role? And then how does that person need to evolve over time to be able to move into these various positions? That has nothing to do with the fact that we want to give you a higher title to give you more money, which is what it traditionally was. And I think by having the managers kind of think through that process and putting it out there for the employees, it's now giving them something to kind of strive for. And again, fundamentally, the job is still the same, right? But you may be doing one or two things more or differently or in a different way than that person that's at that level below you. We have now grown so rapidly that we have a lot more opportunities than we did in the past to provide, right, that traction. So I think some of it does come with growth. Naturally, we went from, 20 to 40 people on a team. Now we need 2 managers and not just one, because one can't do 40. And so then we are working on, as we talk about the training, right, we're going to have it be where you have to have certain skills and or have taken certain courses to even be able to now apply to move into a leadership role. And some of the managers are like, well, can they take it once they're in the role? And we're like, no, this is our evolution. You have to have, right, know what it's about, because it does go back to, right, just because you're the best payroll processor does not mean you're going to make a good payroll manager, right? I love Michael Jordan, greatest player of all time. I want him on my team. It doesn't mean that I want him to be my coach. I think they're two completely different things. So really getting managers and employees to think through that, really getting employees to think through, okay, yes, you're great at this and we love it that you're great at that. But if you want to do the other thing, here are those things that you need to be able to deal with, right? You need to have, emotional intelligence at a certain point. You need to be culturally aware. You need to have, understand diversity. You need to understand coaching. You need to have crucial conversations, right? So really looking at all those things that we think are critical for individuals to have, and then creating the training around them and separating them so people are clear on, this is what this means and this is what that means. And to go from this to that, here's in the middle what you need to do to be able to provide that. And so our managers are very excited and very open for this, because I think they've seen that we have been very true to what we said we would do, right? We said we would deliver on certain things, and we have. We said we wouldn't hire from external. We haven't. Again, we built up that trust, and they have seen the evolution of growth for themselves, and they want to see that in their members and be able to offer that. And so that is kind of the lens that we're looking at it through. And for the end of 2023 into early 2024, we're hoping to have a lot of those things on the ground to kind of, again, push us forward.
Awesome. Really great. It sounds like a lot of organic conversations and building the process as it came. And it sounds like you're having good relationships with the managers along the way. So that's really fantastic. Michael, any thoughts to add on this topic of, career growth and promotions and partnerships with managers?
So, Janelle pointed it out very clearly and very comprehensive. So I'm a bit struggling to find additional topics, but let me take a step back and think about it. So on one side, we're a young organization. A lot of people, I think our average age is like 27, 28 or something. So there's a lot of aspiration coming in. And sometimes it's very important to manage that level of aspiration, because there are people who think after being half a year on the job, they're already senior in that particular job, and they really strive for getting that potentially even tiny promotion. And still, you need to have qualification criteria to actually make that step, and cannot just be tenure in the job, but also some performance, some contribution, you added value to the team whatsoever. And to communicate this very clearly, very, very early on will help to actually also manage those expectations. That's my experience here, because in a large organization, you tend to have 10 people that want to develop into the same job, and you can only promote one. So you need to find either other avenues to success, making them lighthouse of knowledge, giving them more specialist roles whatsoever. Otherwise, you will have a lot of attrition. And what we currently start, and I think we might be 1 or 2 steps behind Ocean Health, is that we also implement a proper skills framework, that we, from recruiting to promotion to potential retirement, work on a on a skill profile that evolves with the role that is attached to the employee, and actually gives us a clearer picture on where they stand, what the gaps are in terms of development for a future role. That also allows us to share this assessment of the gaps and work on a plan, which sometimes is also a means to, in all honesty, delay the promotion for a time period until they're really ready. Because we also only want to promote people that are ready, that have done their job properly, that have acquired the necessary skills to make the next step, not just push someone into a new role because there's a vacancy and someone has shown the ambition. That's definitely the wrong way to promote people. And we will follow a much more structured process going forward after maybe 2-3 years of very rapid growth where we didn't completely consider all the elements.
Totally makes sense. Love what you said. I think you said lighthouse of knowledge. That's great. And I think it's great. You're both highlighting kind of the different stages we're all at. I think we all practically know some of the skills frameworks, but I think each organization is in a different place, and it's okay. And I think you all have highlighted like communication about it being really important. And Victor, how about at SwapFeats? What's what's happening there, and what's your perspective on this as well?
Yeah. Again, I don't want to repeat what Janelle and Mike already said, but mostly giving the structure in order to be able to understand where are the aspirations of our employees and where are the possibilities of development. It's very important to know, like Janelle mentioned, where are the skills needed in order to grow in the company, how can you develop these skills. And then we, as our HR, we are like definitely supporting the managers to have this structure in place, and together with this structure as well, to have the human touch in order to have a good conversation and then understand clearly, okay, like do you really want to become a manager, or like what are the skills that you really need to work on this. So yeah, I would highlight these 2 points from what my colleagues, HR heroes, mentioned already.
Really great. And amazing HR heroes they are. So I know we had a couple of questions come in from the audience. So I will share these out. Let's see. Which data points do you recommend teams collect? Anybody want to volunteer to go first?
Yeah, so for us, we collect a lot of data points, to be honest, but I feel like it sounds like a lot, but we try and share them in segments. So even as I'm on this call, I just saw a draft come through from our recruiting team, right? It's the end of the year. We really track, right, our applicants. We look at the diversity of what we're bringing in, and we report that out to different stakeholders, right? So we report out our diversity, which is going to go to our board. And then to our hiring managers, we report out kind of the activity, right? And thanking them for being involved in the process. Thank them for the 900 interviews that they did this year, and the however many people we ended up hiring out of those. But the main ones we look at is turnover, retention. Obviously, I think those are really important data points for us to look at. And then we break those down even further. So in terms of turnover, we share the details with the hiring managers and the directors so that they can then look and say, hey, are there any trends? Do you have one manager that's losing more people than everybody else? Do we have one department that's losing more? And again, I'm not the HR that's going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you the information. I'm going to tell you the thing. And then I'm like, how are you going to solve this problem? Right? And then how can I support you in helping to solve the problem? So retention, turnover, we do our hires. We do track how many interviews we have. We track, it's like on the top of my head, it's gone. We do look at our performance results, right? So what does a heat map say, kind of where the majority of our our employees, and then how do we move people either from different directions. So we do use that as a data point, and we break it down by team as well for them to kind of, again, help with the development of their teams. We do headcount across departments is something that we track regularly. We track our production versus non-production staff. So that is something that we track on a weekly basis. Our open positions, right? How long they're open for, and then our fill rates, right? So we can also sort of monitor how quickly or how slowly we're bringing people into the organization to make sure that we give the other infrastructure that's required for them to be successful time to be built up. So, right, talk about scaling up. So we do try to kind of, when I was in college, I was a hostess at a restaurant, and you don't realize how much the hostess manages the kitchen, right? If you seat 10 tables at once, then the chefs are inundated, and it's like, okay, do we do 2 at a time? So the chefs don't have to make 10 meals, they only have to do 2. That's kind of the same approach we take as we talk about bringing people into the organization. Are we bringing too many people in? Because then IS can't get 25 laptops out in 1 week. Training can't have 25 people. They can only have 12. Kind of what is that capacity? So we do look at those data points as well to make sure that we are not overburdening the rest of the business.
Really great. Very useful tips there. Victor, any key data points?
Yeah, I would just add it from the performance and potential perspective. We do track the tops and the lows as well, and I do think that's very relevant because then we can take a nice look in the picture of the company, of the talents that we have, and then as well take insights into the risk of leaving, the ambition as well, of course, like that I mentioned. And I think just to don't repeat as well, Janelle, D&I, we're just starting to collect data on that this year here at SwapFits, in order, of course, to take a look in our diversity in the company and to understand how can we become more inclusive as a company. And then HR plays a huge role in this as well.
Really great. And Michael, as country manager as well, what data points are you looking at?
So, I mean, one very important metric for us is time to fill. And you have a lot of roles to fill, so we need to get people on board fast. Then we'll also monitor the length and efficiency of the onboarding process. So what about the average time to performance, that someone really understands their job well and performs on that particular job? We look at the performance distribution across the teams. There's obviously then a calibration process behind for that. We look at engagement levels, so how much time do people spend on interactions, use Slack, and so forth. So we know there's not all of a sudden a certain cliff which would indicate someone is losing motivation and thinking about leaving, things like that. And on top of that, one thing that always pops up almost on a weekly basis, we push out a lot of trainings because we have so many new product initiatives and there's so many compliance topics that we need to update on a really regular basis, that we also monitor completion rates for trainings, which is something where our HRBPs reach out every second day to inform the leaders that someone in the team maybe has not yet concluded a certain training. And I would say, on top of all what Janelle and Victor said, these are the metrics that we're looking at.
Yeah, really important. Makes sense. We have time for a couple more questions. Let's see what we can get in. This is a good follow-up to the manager enablement question. What skills are the most crucial for first-time managers to develop or for HR to focus on in their training? Victor, let's start with you.
Well, that's a very good question. I would say there's maybe like two dimensions. Definitely the people dimension. So again, how to provide like a good feedback, how to receive good feedback. We do see people are still struggling with that. Mostly like reacting instantly to feedback and then not being able to indeed like understand what is being communicated. So from this point, it's like a crucial to have a very good like communication skills in the sense. And I think from the more technical point is like really to be able to understand the processes. So how to really write like good goals, how to really measure performance, measure other metrics that we have, understand this metrics. So I would list these 2 points. Yeah.
Great. And Michael, how about yourself?
A very strong opinion for me. It's empathy and listening skills. If you don't command that, then you're a complete failure as a manager. So understanding your team's needs, listening to them instead of always talking over them, I think that's the most important thing that you have to bring to the table. Everything else will follow.
Great. And Janelle?
Yeah, I think I started making a list really quickly, and I think the guys have touched on everything that I had, right? So the empathy for sure, listening skills. What else I had was, being able to be a good coach, right? So to be a player coach and really be able to give effective feedback, but also be there in the trenches with your team. I think the only thing that we haven't touched on, or they hadn't touched on yet, was kind of engagement, right? Being very intentional about engaging with your team, whether through regular communication, team meetings, and things of that nature, to really kind of create that cohesiveness. And I think a lot of times people get promoted and they're so focused on I have to do everything right, as opposed to, hey, I really have to get to know these people and understand their motivations and what motivates them. So then I can in turn use that information to help me to better manage them. And I think that's a skill that a lot of new managers miss, right, from early on, right? It's not about being their friend, you're being friendly, but in a way that really helps you to drive the motivation of the team.
Absolutely. Really big distinction. So I know we only have a few minutes, so I just want to take this moment to thank you all for spending time with us, and a special thank you to our HR heroes here that have shared some really important knowledge. Like we said, we will be sharing the video recording of this, as well as helping to answer any questions that came in that we can via email. But to leave us on a last thought, I know it's that time of year where we can get, have a wish list. And so would love to hear from each of you, just as a closing moment, any wishes you have for 2024 for yourself, for your team. Please go for it. So I will go with Janelle first.
My wish is that when I call, Victor's available so he can fix all my learning stuff. I'm kidding. I think my wish for 2024 is for my team to really appreciate, right, all the things that we've accomplished in 2022, but then also kind of focus it on 2023, but also kind of get ready for 2024. I would love to have unlimited budget so I can implement all the HR things that I would like to implement, right? And have a lot of new tools and resources. That will be amazing, but I've already got shut down already. So I have to deal with that. But I really do hope that, as a profession, I think for years we've talked about, how can we be more strategic? How can we have a seat at the table? I think we've moved past that. I think we are already there. So let's stop talking about it and let's just start doing it. So that's kind of what my wish is for 2024.
Amazing wish. Victor?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I think something that we can point out here at SwapFits is like we are really shifting from in the learning perspective to have really as a priority our product line and customer line employees. So we are really shifting a couple of things in our people experience team to be closer to the product line, closer to the customer line, to be able to hear like more the needs of this employees and being able to support them in those needs as well. I think this is like the biggest wish that we have. Unlimited budget would be nice as well, Janelle. I would keep that in the list, but I think that's it.
Great. And last but not least, Michael.
Yeah, on a personal level, I definitely hope that my cold goes away and never comes back in 2024, because I fight with it for quite a while now. But that's the very personal one. On a more professional level, I'm blessed with a diverse team that really treats themselves, the entirety of the team, very respectful, and that's an attitude I hope I can continue cultivating. We add even more members to the team that have the same attitude and aspire to attain their goals as well. Coming from a sales perspective, definitely is a very important point for us. And besides that, yeah, I think these are the main goals. The unlimited budget, I think it's common understanding. We all need it. We never get it, and I would love to at least have it on the marketing side of things.
Amazing. Well, let's manifest this, everybody. unlimited budget. Well, my wish for everyone is to enjoy the rest of your day, evening. Thank you so much for joining us with these HR heroes. And again, Janelle, Victor, Michael, thank you for sharing your knowledge and sharing your time. We really appreciate everyone joining. So thank you and have a great day, everybody.
Same to
Thank
you.
you.
Pleasure talking
Bye.
to you.
Thank you.
Take
Pleasure.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.